Viewers, I am so sorry. I have a confession to make. It has been about 20 minutes since my last yarn confession. I may have told a little white lie. Well, not really a white lie. It's more like an off-white lie, green lie, some multicolored lies. Anyway, we'll get into it. See you on the other side. Welcome to episode 37 of Gary Knits, Gary Rides, a Craftivism podcast at the intersection of making things and doing good. My name is Gary. I am a knitter and a crocheter, and for the last 5 years, I have been a cyclist and fundraiser for AIDS Lifecycle, a 545-mile, 7-day bike journey down the coast of California from San Francisco to Los Angeles, benefiting the life-saving work of the San Francisco AIDS Foundation and the Los Angeles LGBT Center. I hope you are having a great start to the new year. I cannot believe that we are this far into January already. Seems like just yesterday was Christmas. You can find me on Instagram as Gary Knits, Gary Rides. Also over on Ravelry as Gary Knits and Rides. On Ravelry, we have a group for the Knitalongs and Crochetalongs that I run as part of my fundraising for AIDS Lifecycle. You can find that here. And I hope you'll come over and post some pictures of your progress on the projects that we're working on right now. It has been, as I always say, a busy couple of weeks. I am running full speed on 4 or 5 different projects, including running, funnily enough. But yeah, it's been an incredibly busy couple weeks, and I do not see that slowing down anytime really between now and June when I have my ride. It is just a full tilt pace to try to get the fundraising done and to keep training and all of the things that are going on. In terms of some fun stuff, in the last week we had a LA Philharmonic concert. We subscribe to a series that is in the mid-morning. We can both attend that right now on the days that they usually happen on Fridays. We call them the old folks concert because it is, we bring the average age of the place down considerably, but it's generally senior citizens, which I'm increasingly counting myself in the camp of. But we get to see Mahler's Sixth Symphony conducted by Gustavo Dudamel, who has another year, I think, only left at the LA Phil, and he is just so much fun to watch. And it was really cool. They were recording this performance, and I didn't know it because I don't, even though I enjoy to go listen to classical music, I don't know a ton about it. But I guess in this particular symphony, there has been some debate and controversy over the years in terms of the order of the two middle movements. And I think what they were doing is they were performing it one way in an evening performance and then performing it the other way in our performance. And we got to see them do it the less performed way and recording that. So that was kind of a fun piece of that. Besides that, just sort of my normal knitting stuff. I've been going to my Thursday knitting group here locally at the one of the local libraries. It keeps growing. We've now I would say probably up to like 10 or 12 people every week, and it kind of, there's a group of new-ish knitters who are coming in and getting help from the more experienced knitters. There's sort of a stable group of like 6 or 7 folks. So that has been really, really fun to get to meet those people. Most of them are members of a local knitting guild, which is up closer to the city than where we are. They meet up close to LAX actually. And I'm going to try to go to one of the meetings. I'm not going to make it this month, but I hope to make it one of these upcoming months and just see what that is all about. It's a bit of a drive, but it's only once a month, and it sounds like it's a really interesting group of people. So we'll check that out. As I mentioned, doing a lot of training. The weather has been off and on rainy, so not quite hitting my biking goal of 40 to 50 miles a week, but it's supposed to get up to 70 here this weekend. So I'm hoping to put in a really long, or probably my longest ride to date. So 40 miles or so in one sitting. And on the days that I'm not being able to bike, I've been going to Orange Theory, which, if you're not familiar, is like a high interval training, heart rate monitor based group exercise classes, studios. They have them all over the place, but it's one of the few exercises that I've actually ever gotten into. Part of it is the data piece of it, because you have the heart rate monitor, and there's a slightly competitive piece to it because you're trying to get X number of minutes in a particular heart rate zone over the course of the 50-60 minute exercise, and everyone's data is all put up on a screen, so you can kind of see what everyone else is doing. And they do each year they do a number of repetitions of these benchmark challenges, where one of them is like 12-minute run, and you try to figure out, try to see how much you can run in 12 minutes. They just did one this last week, which was a 1 mile run, and you then track your time over time. And so they've had two of those this year so far. One was a run row challenge, and one was this 1 mile. And I had personal records on both of those, so that makes me feel pretty good that the training is going well. Of course, there's also usually some weight piece of it. They have like dumbbells and stuff, and you do a weight thing. And the other day I was doing deadlifts, but not very much weight. But all of a sudden I felt like it didn't make a sound like a pop, but I felt a pop in my back. And since then, my sciatic nerve on my right leg has been really, really giving me problems. Every morning it is almost impossible to stand up. And just in the last couple of days, that has eased up a little bit. It doesn't seem to affect my running, and usually within an hour it kind of works itself out, and I'm not feeling that much pain. It certainly didn't affect my time on the 1 mile run the other day, but it's just the vagaries of growing old, I suppose. So I've had to watch it a little bit on the weight side and try to take it a little easier than usual. It doesn't seem to bother me biking either, so that's great. The other fun thing that I did over the last couple of weeks is a not so local, but in Southern California, yarn store called Hands On Knitting Center. It's out in Redlands, which is kind of as you're going out to the desert from here. So if you're going from LA to Palm Springs, you would go past it. Beautiful store. When my friend Valerie was visiting from Bolivia, she had been during the pandemic, and because she's in Bolivia, they do like a weekly Zoom kind of meet up and knit together kind of thing. And she had been participating in that. And so when she was here visiting relatives here in town, she asked if, I said, what do you want to do? And she said, can we go yarn shopping? I said, of course we can go yarn shopping. And so we drove out there. It's probably like an hour and a half drive or so from here. And it's a really, really beautiful store. By far the largest and most expansive yarn store that I've seen here in the Southern California area. And they were also vending at the SoCal Fiber Fair earlier this year. I met one of the partners and the owners, and she reached out to me recently to say, could you join us for one of our Thursday lunchtime Zoom calls and talk about what you're doing with Knitalongs and the biking and all that. So that was really fun. It was a fun group of people, and got to talk about all of the different projects that we're working on, et cetera, et cetera. So that was a cool thing to do. But most of what I have been working on in the past couple of weeks has been getting this edition of the D-Stash for Good auction up and running. If you saw on Instagram, I posted a little behind the scenes on how it all comes together, just to give folks an idea of what goes into it. I had some questions because from the time that submissions close until the launch of the auction can be like a 2-week period. And I think people were wondering, why does it take so long? And so I walked through that. And basically, this iteration of the D-Stash for Good auction has 430, so I think it's actually 428 items. I can post those to Instagram at a rate of about 10 to 12 an hour before Instagram gets even more spicy with me than it usually does. So, that means 36, 38 hours of just sitting and posting things to Instagram, just that piece of it. Forget about photographing all of my yarn, putting together the spreadsheets and things like that. So it is a long process, and I like to build in some extra time because I have found that Instagram will randomly shut things down for me. And it happened twice during this lead up to this auction. I would wake up in the morning, start posting, and then 3 posts in, they would stop letting me post. I never know why exactly. I feel like it has to do with the rate at which I'm posting, but because it's Instagram, you never know, and there's no one you can talk to, and there's no help desk or anything. And so I file reports and say, I'm trying to upload this auction for charity. Can you please reestablish my account? I tag them in things to try to shame them into reopening my account. And then I wait. And sometimes this time around, they would send a thing to me saying, we need to verify your account. Here's, send it to my text, punch in the code. And then sometimes an hour after that had happened, I could start posting again. So it's incomprehensible to me. I don't really understand. And I wish there were a way for them to explain it to me so I could do whatever I need to do to stop that from happening. I'm going to maybe try something different on the next round to see, one, if I can get around it, see how people like that version of a D-Stash. More on that later. We got to get through this one. It is opening on the 27th at roughly 8 a.m. Pacific time. I've got some family stuff going on at the end of this week that may move that around a little bit, but as it stands right now, I should be able to open it up 8 a.m. on the 27th. It is going to run to roughly 8 p.m. on the 6th of February. So you have plenty of time. Everything's up for preview now. So as I mentioned, it's 429 items across all weights of yarn, a really, really good mix. There's lots of multi-skein listings, a couple at least that I can think of right off the top of my head, 4 or 5 sweater quantities of yarn. Most of it this time around is indie dyed, and most of it is 100% going to AIDS Lifecycle. So that is because the vast majority of the listings were coming from me this time. I think I'd mentioned I cut some deals with some indie dyers who had some excess inventory that they needed to offload. I needed to build up some inventory to list in the D-Stash for the next few rounds until we get through June. And so it all worked out kind of a win-win for everyone. So there's a lot of really great yarn in there. And if you're a regular D-Stash for Good shopper, you may notice that there's more minimum bids around this time, and that just kind of has to do with some of the deals that I cut with the dyers, and making sure that I'm not just giving the stuff away. But I think there's going to be plenty of opportunity to get some great bargains. As I've said before, this is probably my 7th or 8th one of these. Typically, things are going to sell between 30 to 60% off retail. So if you're able to get something for more than 60% off retail, you've done a really good job in terms of bargains. Occasionally, things will get up to retail for some very rare yarns, but I would say at the high end, things are going to trade at probably 20% discounts to retail. So still some great bargains and lots of yarn to choose from. So go check it out at D-Stash for Good over on Instagram. Knitalong and Make-Along, or Knitalong and Make-Along. Knitalong and Crochetalong for the winter edition. So the Bascule hat on the knitting side, hat and mitt set from MKNanceMakes, and the Honey and Dahlias shawl from Corinne, I Knit You Not, on that's her handle on Instagram, on the crochet side. So both of those are ongoing. We are just heading into last week of the month, so that will be the halftime giveaways at the end of January. So do not forget to be posting pictures either in our Ravelry group in the chatter thread or over on Instagram using these hashtags. And every time you post a picture, you are entered into to the giveaways. So we have the halftime giveaways, and then we have all of the giveaways at the end of the event, which ends in into February. So I'll show you where I am progress-wise on my things upcoming, but I've been seeing some. We already have one finished object. I saw a Bascule and a Honey and Dahlia shawl finished objects already. So there are some speed demons out there. I am the caboose. I will probably, if I am able to finish one or both of those, it will be at the very end of February, because although I'm doing a lot of knitting, not a lot of it on those projects, because a lot of the knitting I'm doing right now is stuff that I can't show, sadly enough. Soon enough, you'll see it. So both of those are for ongoing. Get those pictures posted. The other thing that we did that sort of ties into my fundraising stuff is we did the second knit night for the Knit Stars Pro-Am design competition. So Lewis and myself and Nina and Melinda all got together with a bunch of folks on Zoom and showed off where we were in our projects, talked a little bit about, Nina asked both Melinda and I what the most surprising, sort of scary, fun part of the whole process was, and then she and Lewis kind of talked about their very first experiences designing as well. So it was a really fun evening. We've got 2 more of those. I think the next one is on, I should have written it down. I'll put it up here just to be sure, and it'll be, everything will be listed down below in the show notes as well. And I'll pop the QR code up here again if you want to scan this, if you're not watching this on your device. And yeah, so we have 2 more of those. We do demos each time. So this last time I demoed the Prosperity Rib, which is part of Lewis and my pattern, using without cable needles. And then I think the next time I'm going to go through a kind of abbreviated demo on the grafting that caused me so much agita during the during the design process. I'm here on the YouTube channel. There's a bunch of tutorials, including one on the grafting technique that I use to try to get the a more seamless close on the infinity scarf version of of our scarf. So you can go check that out. But it's like 26 minutes long, so I don't think I'll go through the whole thing next time. So I'll probably just get to the point where you actually are doing the grafting, then kind of walk through the steps of the grafting, not getting through the whole provisional cast on and all that stuff. So you still have time to grab both of those patterns in the pattern pack. Link is down below at Knit Stars, and you get both versions of the Make the Turn scarf. Here is the infinity scarf version of that. And then you get that, as well as Nina and Melinda's Candace's Comfort Shawl, which I'm going to show you mine here in a minute. And also you are going to get, if you buy the pattern during the make-along, so that's going to wrap up mid-February. If you buy the pattern during the make-along, you will also get the soon-to-be-released, I will show it to you when we get to FOs, but the hat that coordinates with our scarf. So I have designed a hat. I've had to redo it again, but I think I finally have it all down, and you'll get a free copy of that. And that hat will be then sold separately once the make-along is over and the patterns go back to the individual designers. So still time to do that. The patterns are $12 for the whole set. 100% of that goes to AIDS Lifecycle. The yarn, which is still, I think, because Knit Stars is shutting down their retail operations in terms of yarn sales, except for kits and things revolving around the Knit Stars seasons. And everything on the Loops Love website is 20% off, including the Loops Luxe Chunky, which is the yarn that we used in our design. So you can grab that for 20% off, and 20% of all of those yarn sales of that particular yarn go to AIDS Lifecycle as well. I think we're getting up close to $6,000 raised, so that's fantastic. But I would love to get everyone a copy of the pattern that is interested in helping my fundraising and having some great patterns to work on as well. So go check that out if you haven't had a chance to do it yet. And that's in terms of, I think, everything on my fundraising side for now. In a couple episodes, I will have sent out my big fundraising letter, and hopefully then I will have some updates in terms of where I am in the fundraising process. But I still feel pretty good that this is the year I'm going to hit my $200,000 mark and be able to take a little break from the biking. In terms of some other Craftivism ideas, Friday Morning Charity, which is an Instagram account that highlights different charities that they run and coordinate make-alongs and charity drives and things like that for. Their current efforts that they're working on is a crochet hat drive that is going to run through the end of February. It is for Tulsa Day Center, which is a homeless shelter and service provider in Tulsa. I will put the link down below as well. You may have seen, if you're following Friday Morning Charity, and you should, that we are going to team up later this year. So after the ride in the fall, we're going to do another accessories drive for Knit the Rainbow together as a joint collaboration. So that'll be really fun. So mark your calendars. I think we're going to push it a little earlier than I did it last year. So probably going to kick off in August, so that we get things made and get them to Knit the Rainbow before the cold weather starts to set in. So stay tuned for that, and follow Friday Morning Charity over on Instagram if you're not. The other thing I wanted to mention, last episode I noted that Dr. Charlie Untangled is running a make-along during Black History Month. The hashtag for that is BHM Craftivism Mal 2024. Again, everything's going to be down below in the show notes. But Liz at The Black Knitter on Instagram is also going to be running a Black History Month Mal, and they are encouraging double dipping. So you can follow Liz she's The Black Knitter on Instagram, and the hashtag that she's using for hers is BK Black History Mal. She's doing a series of Zooms, so each Monday during Black History Month, which is February, she's going to host a Zoom, and folks are going to come on and talk about what they're working on, and then I think probably a little bit of learning in terms of Black History Month and different things that are going on to celebrate that. So go check out that. Her latest YouTube episode I think just went up last week, and I think has some of the details for that as well. But like I said, both of them are encouraging double dipping. I think if you are making something from a black designer using black yarn dyed by a black dyer, or even probably notions and bags and things like that from black makers, all of those can count towards your entry into those make-alongs. So go check that out. I mentioned FOs. I have only one. As I said, I've been knitting a ton, but I can't show most of what I'm working on. I'm working on a couple of hard and fast deadlines. Emphasis on the fast. They're coming up faster than I would ideally like. But so I've been cranking things out there, and hopefully, in the next few months or so, some of that will come to fruition and be able to be shown. But the FO that I did, as I mentioned, is the hat that goes with our scarf. So I don't know if I showed it, but I was working on it and had a version of this hat done when, let me see, there you go. When we launched the patterns with Knit Stars. There's the crown decreases. Where does it want to focus? It wants to focus on me. There you go. and did not write a thing down. Whipped up the hat. It's, you know, it incorporates the same smocking stitch pattern from the scarf. Whipped up the hat thinking we were going to sell kits instead of selling the yarn in individual skeins. My scarf took 3 skeins of yarn. Lewis's version of the scarf took 4. And I was like, well, if people buy the kit, ended up making the infinity scarf, they're going to have an extra skein of yarn. Let's whip up a hat. So I whipped up a hat and had it ready to go. Had not written a thing down. And everything around the holidays, I came back to it, completely forgotten what I had done with the crown decreases, and just did not have the bandwidth to try to sit and looking at it and figure out what had been done. So I ripped it all out and started again and just took notes the whole way down. So I did make some adjustments to it. I made it a little bit taller than the original version. And so it uses a little bit more yarn. So I used all but like 7 grams of the skein. So if you were making the infinity scarf version, you're probably going to have some leftover yarn from that because it didn't even take a full 3 skeins. So you should be fine. And you could probably, I was originally going to do this in a couple of different sizes, but since I used almost all of the yarn for what we'll call a sort of average adult size hat, I'm probably not going to go back and try to work up a larger size because it's not going to be able to be done, I don't think, with the single skein of that yarn. I think if you are a, you know, experienced knitter at all, you would be able to, you know, quickly figure out how to make the adjustments to make it a little bit bigger. And then maybe at some point down the road, I would like, once the pattern for the scarf reverts back to me, at some point, because it was knit in this specific yarn, which is listed as a chunky weight, but we knit it up more as an Aran, I'd like to revisit it and at least do a sample in a true Aran weight, and maybe in a woolier wool. Since this is the alpaca silk, it's very, very soft. It's very soft, but maybe more in a regular wool. And then I do redo the hat as well, and maybe at that point would increase the sizing and just do an update to the pattern. So we'll see. That's probably a late this year event if that happens, just because of all the other things that I have on my plate right now. But that would be the plan, is that to revisit that pattern in another yarn, and then update the pattern for sizing for the hat. I also would like to, when I have a little more time to sit down, is revisit the grafting and see if there is not a way to incorporate the built-in I-cord edge, which I couldn't figure out how to do when I was designing it, and so we did it as an applied I-cord edge after the fact. So we'll see. Design things down the road. Now that I'm, you know, dipping my toe into design, so many possibilities coming my way. In terms of other whips, I said I would mention the other Knit Stars Pro-Am pattern, which is the Candace's Comfort Shawl. I've been making some pretty good progress. This is mainly my knitting group at the library knitting, because I can chit-chat and knit. There's not too much to remember, except for a couple little cable moves here and there. But here's where I am. I think I am 7 repeats out of 10 into the main section, and then you shift over to an edging section. You know, I mean, it's getting wide enough so now that's taking a little more time than than it was in the beginning. I went to the library last week, and I think I was, you know, on the 6th repeat, and I was like, oh, this is great. You know, I'm gonna, these they're flying by. I'm gonna bang out, you know, 2 or 3 more of these, and then I'll be almost done with the main section, and, you know, I'll finish it up by the time the make along ends. Well, I made it through 1 repeat in the 2 hours that we knit there. So each one is taking a little bit longer, even though it's mainly stockinette. But I really as much as I like the blue yarn that we were given to make the patterns out of, I'm really loving this in this natural color. I think there's just something, and it probably comes down to, Aran sweaters, that there's just something so classic about a big cable in this sort of natural color. So this is really cozy yarn, and I'm hoping that my mother enjoys it, because that's who's going to get this when it's done. So I do have some time. I'm not going to make it to knitting group this week because, as I said, I have some family stuff. I have to go sit in hospital waiting rooms for the better part of 2 or 3 days. But I should be able to get some knitting done as well, although I'll probably be editing this video if I'm honest. But hopefully there'll be some knitting as well, because I'm going to be hanging out at my parents' house for a few days. So that was the Candace's Comfort shawl by Nina Macklin-Dayton and Melinda Lesko, who are my competitors in the design competition. The only other things that I've been working on have been my make-along projects for the End AIDS Knitalongs and Crochetalongs. I was really struggling for a while there with the crochet project, but I finally got the rhythm down, figured out where I was having the issues, and I've made it now through 2 full pattern repeats of the bobbly section, and have to do that one more. I can't remember how many. Maybe it's 12 rows, or it's 8 out of the 12 rows or something. One more repeat, and then I will be into the next section, which I'm sure will confuse me in different ways than this one. But it's been fun. Now, once I finally got the rhythm of it and kind of figured out the pattern, it's been pretty smooth sailing since then. I am troubled there. I can see down here where I'm off a little bit in the beginning. Oh no, it's up here at the top actually, where my centering is not right. But I'm hoping I'll just block that out and make it line up, force it into submission. So I don't know when I'm going to get back to this, because this is not going to travel with me. So it'll probably be a week or 2 before I be able to pick this back up again. But I'm loving the yarn. It's, it looks a little bit different than other folks. It's a little, I think because it's a single ply, the stitch definition is different than some of the other versions of this I've seen. But I'm enjoying it. And the other thing that I have been working on, where is it? It's right here behind my hat head. And this one I've been really, really having fun with. And this is my Bascule hat. So I tucked my... it's a yarn carrier and a hat all in one. This is the Bascule by MKNanceMakes. I'm doing it in Sea Change fiber. I should have mentioned the Honey and Dahlia's shawl, the purple shawl, is in a Lola Bean Yarn Co. Merino silk blend that was part of her Black Label collection. This is in Sea Change Fibers, who made the yarn kit. Sarah made the yarn kits for the Knitalong, and I'm using her Stormy Seas, which is the kind of tealy green, and the Au Naturel, which is the natural color. Love this yarn. So much fun with this pattern. I have started using Knit Companion, which has made this really easy to follow. And I said before, even though it's a no repeat pattern vertically, like there's obviously pattern repeats as you go around, but each row is unique, that has not been a problem. And so I'm having a lot of fun using the Norwegian thimble, still loving that. And I think I'm about more than halfway to the crown decreases. So this may travel with me, especially if I'm taking my tablet that has the Knit Companion on it, because once I do the first repeat in a row, I pretty much have it, and I can just kind of autopilot through it. Plus, the pattern itself does give you very clear visual clues if you're off. Like you will notice pretty immediately like that your pattern's off. And these little stitch markers for every repeat are, game changers, or not game changers, but they really make things a lot easier. So Bascule, hoping to get this finished. Do not know if I will get the mitts started and finished during the make along, but at some point I will get them. I will get them made because I think they'll make a really cute hat set. And again, this yarn, Corriedale nylon blend, is really, really great for color work. So I'm glad, even though I didn't need 2 more skeins of yarn, I'm really glad I bought it in the other color as well, because I think it'll be a really great color work project at some point down the road. So that is that. And that is really it in terms of things I can show. I mentioned at the top it was time to enter the Yarn Confessional. And last episode, I can't remember what had come in the mail. See how quickly we forget like yarn that we were obsessed with. Something had come and I said, I think that's it. And then I paused and I said, oh no, I have the Woolens and Nosh and Les Garçons collaboration that they did after the new year that's coming. And it came. And I said, but I think that's it. I think that's all I have coming. And I was feeling okay because I was like, okay, a couple things have come out of the stash so far this year, adding one or whatever had come last time as well. Okay, we're balance is being maintained. I had forgotten that I had, when Knit Stars season 8 did their second wave of yarns. I didn't buy any of the yarns when the early bird special, when I bought the season, I didn't buy any of the yarns because I was, trying to be good, responsible, true to my vision of getting yarn stash down a little bit. But then I started watching the season, and I watched the Helene Magnusson Icelandic Lopi sweater one. We'd also been to Ireland. My husband, even though we're in Ireland, he bought like this Icelandic sweater. I kept saying, like, it's not really. He also bought some, Aran-ish sweaters, but I was like, it's really like more of like a Icelandic type sweater. But he bought it anyway. Loves it. He loves it. But I saw her Icelandic Lopi sweater, and I just really, really wanted to get the kit to make it. And so I got the kit. Months ago, ordered it, and it just arrived. So it has, I'm not going to show it all, but it has these plates of this, and I think it's Plutlopi, but it's this very unspun wool. And I think there's 3 colors here, but like if you pull on it, it breaks. Oh, it's not doing it now, but there it is. There it breaks, and you can just put it back together. And she then holds this with, I think, some yarn that she actually designed that's called Love Story, which is a very fine, but it is a spun yarn to give it a little more stability. But the sweater is beautiful. It's called the Icebreaker. I will pop a picture of it up here. And I don't know when it's going to happen. I have the pattern because I have the season. So now I have the kit, and I don't know how they indicated that this, Plutlopi yarn is difficult to come by. They only make so much of it a year. So I figured even if I don't get around to it this year or next year, that at least I have it, and I have enough for a sweater for me. And I don't know why I'm just rattling that. I could just leave it. And that's part of this whole thing that is now going to go into more things. This sort of FOMO that I sort of suffer from when it's a knitting thing, that I feel like, it may not be around forever. I really want to make it, even though I know I'm not going to make it anytime in the next 12 months. I better get it now just so, I have a chance to get it. So that was FOMO number one. But also in that Knit Stars pack, which is not for me, so this counts as not heart mail, but booty stash enhancement, is Joji Locatelli had designed a special little bag for this season of Knit Stars. It's this little tote that you can then slip the handle into and carry like this. And it has the Knit Stars logo and the Joji logo on there. So I thought it was cute. I needed a bag for a grand prize for one of the Make-Alongs, and so I grabbed this. And so I don't know if it's going to be Spring or Pride, but that will be a grand prize for one of the Make-Alongs coming up. The other thing that I got was the other module in this season of Knit Stars that really just grabbed me was Olga Jazzy Knits 3D knitting, and she makes this really cool origami kind of cowl. But one of the things she has several origami patterns. I don't think she always uses this yarn. Most of that I think is done with the technique, but this time to give it even more sort of sculptural effect, she uses a yarn that has stainless steel woven into it, and it was done by Neighborhood Fiber Company. And so, interesting, it's the same blue as the other Knit Stars, my yarn. So this is the main yarn. It is from Neighborhood Fiber Co. It is called Ledovik. Their Studio Sock. So this is just their basic fingering yarn. But then they dyed up in this chromium, which is 69% silk, 31% stainless steel. And it's really like bendable, like you like bend it and like you can crease it and it holds that crease. So in that cowl, which it's called the Sprunga cowl, I'll post a picture of it up here. That helps to give it that structure that really looks like folded material. So I thought it was unique. Again, who knows when, but I really am looking forward to playing around with that pattern. She has such really her patterns are just so innovative and cool, and I can't wait to finally at some point be able to work on one of those. So that was the other thing. Not as much of FOMO, but like it's just like I really want to have that yarn on hand, so when at some point I can kind of make that. The other FOMO one was I tuned into Sam from Irish Knitting Podcast, who, if you're not familiar, I'll link down below to the specific episode that I'm talking about. Fantastic knitter, based in Ireland, but he's Italian. Now I think he just got his Irish citizenship, but a phenomenal colorwork knitter. He whips through a sweater in the amount of time that it takes me to knit a hat, and he's just his color work is amazing, and he does a lot of knits a lot of patterns from Sandnesgarn, which is a Norwegian yarn company, but also does patterns, and he did this podcast episode in the last month or so that was sort of like his top 15 men's sweaters. And as I mentioned before, when I was making my first sweater, my painted honeycomb sweater, I struggle with finding sweaters that are mainly designed for men or male presenting bodies that I really want to make. And it usually comes down to the fit, like here in the neck. Like most of the, often not most, but a lot of sweaters I see that are designed for men have these like very like wide collars or necks that I think will not look great on me, and so I'm like resistant to knit them because I don't like the look of how they look in the on the models. But Sam does a great job, and his sweaters all fit impeccably. And so one of his favorites was this sweater from Sandnesgarn called the Marius sweater. I will pop a picture of it up here as well. And I saw that and I was like, very nice sweater. It was fingering weight, maybe sport weight, so light enough that it's something that I would be interested in knitting. I think he was wearing it in the video. It like fit him perfectly, and so I was like, okay, good, nice, like sort of fitting collar, or I keep calling it a collar, but neck, fitting neckline. And so I was like, I really want to grab that pattern. So I started looking around, and it's like pops up on Ravelry, but then it says to purchase this pattern, go to this Sandnesgarn website. And it's all in Norwegian, but Google translates it for me, and I just can't find the pattern for sale. Like they have all these catalogs, and I can't seemingly find it. And some of the other patterns he mentioned, when I do find them, it's available only in Norwegian. So I don't think that's going to help me. My guess is, these are probably going to be a little more bare bones in their written instructions than what I'm probably used to. And for a sweater, that particularly makes me scared. But anyway, so I finally try to find a stockist here in the States, and I find one. And so part of the issue is, and it's sort of brilliant marketing or whatever on their part, is the only way to get the pattern is to buy a sweater quantity's worth of yarn of Sandnesgarn, and then you can add the pattern to your basket. And the pattern comes in a catalog. Now, luckily for this particular sweater, it came in a catalog that's all men's sweaters. So here's let's see if we can find it. Even though I just posted the picture of it, but this is the Marius sweater there. I found the distributor in the States. It's a website called, and I think maybe a brick and mortar store as well, called Mother Knitter in Red Bank, New Jersey. And they had this available and sell Sandnesgarn yarn. So because I was fearful that somehow this pattern was going to disappear before I have a chance to, think about knitting it, I decided I had to go ahead and get it. The good news is this book, almost every sweater in here, I would knit. So it's like, this is what I'm talking about with that neck. See, that neck just doesn't fit, or doesn't seem to fit for me. Maybe like in a super casually, I don't know that I would even wear it around the house if it had a net like that, because I don't think it would look good on me. Anyway, but most of the other ones in here, and I know I can do some adjustments, were things that I would probably knit. So I was happy to get all of these, even though I was really just getting to get to the one. And so I ended up having to buy a sweater quantity of yarn. So I got it in this very light gray, which I think will be the main color. And then I got this sort of huntery green to do the color work in. So I have lots of sweater quantities of blue, including one that is supposed to be delivered today, because Lola Bean got all of her yarn, Knit Stars had a bunch of her yarn. They sent it back to her, and she put it up for sale on her website, and there was a sport weight navy blue that was gorgeous, and so I got another sweater quantity of blue yarn. But I thought this would be something different. So, and the construction on this also looks interesting. I think it has saddle shoulders, and you steek for the sleeves, which I don't even understand what that means. But Sam was talking about you had to steek for the sleeves, so it could be an adventure in many different ways. In looking at the pattern, it is, as expected, a little sparse in terms of the actual instructions. It's just kind of and now knit the sleeves. So it may take a little more patience on my part too, and trial and error to get that done. So that was the other FOMO thing that came in the mail. And then the other the other thing. Oh well, I got a. Speaking of Black Label and speaking of Lila Bean, my forgotten January Black Label, which I'm so happy that I ordered sight unseen. Every time she has a Black Label, and I think I don't need any more yarn. Maybe I can just skip one, and then the times that I have, I've been really disappointed that I've skipped one because, and this one I think may be one of my favorite ones ever. So this was inspired by Celia Cruz. It's called Celia Cruz La Vida es un Carnaval, and it's just great. I love the color. So she announced another one this in the last week or two that was based on Queen. So I went ahead and ordered that as well. So we are not starting off in a good spot for the stash down in the year with less yarn than you started with, because then I saw a post from it was Michelle at Woolens and Nosh who was posting about another dyer who does self-striping yarn, who was supposed to be at a show, I think it was in Oxford, Mississippi. The show got canceled because of all the weather that's been going on here in the last few weeks, and this dyer had like packed up her car, driven I don't even know how far to get to the show, and then they canceled the show on her. So she had all this stuff tied up for the show and had to get home. So she was running a special, I think it was like free shipping or something. A dyer I had not known before, but I love some self-striping sock yarn. And so this is String Theory Colorworks. And look at that. How cool is that? And this one is MCN. So I don't think I've ever seen an MCN self-striping sock yarn. So this one is called Continuum. I think is the Continuum is the base, I believe. So that's the MCM base, and this one is called. They're all scientific things, so I will butcher the pronunciation. Cyanidine. Very, very pretty. The other one. This is on her displacement base, which is an 80% superwash BFL and 20% nylon. And this one is called Nanometrology. Beautiful. And then finally, this one is also on displacement, so the BFL base, and it is Limir Edwardsy. No idea what these scientific words mean, but I think it all has something to do with like quantum physics or something. So these are all beautiful, and I can't wait to figure out what I'm going to do with these. Definitely some socks from some of those. So yeah, as I mentioned, the confession is that I told a multicolored lie that there was only one skein of yarn yet to come. I'm not even going to say it now because I know the blue yarn is coming today, and I feel like there's probably stuff that is also yet to come. So just means that the next D-stash is going to have even more of my yarn in it to make sure I end up the year. Now I have, to be fair, as I mentioned, a couple of skeins of yarn have come out of stash already this year on projects that I haven't been able to show, so that's good. But just this week, I think I'm already up 15 or so. So anyway, the other thing that I got was a book, and this is by Shirley Padden. It's called The Knitwear Design Workshop, and seems to got very good reviews, and I was able to find a used copy of it. That very good in terms of like design, specifically garments. And so I don't think that I am going to be designing a garment anytime soon, but I thought it would be a good reference. I do expect that you will see some more designs from me in the next year. Definitely have an idea for another hat. Some other things brewing as well. So I think you'll definitely see that. And at some point I would, I would the whole grading thing kind of scares me a little bit, but I definitely wouldn't mind designing a sweater for myself. So you may see something down the road from that, but I thought it would be just a good reference and something to sort of flip through and think about. So that is about it from on the acquisition side, except for the bag for the Hohi bag. Nothing coming in from prizes, but that's perfectly fine. I've got a ton of yarn and bags and things set aside for prizes. Next time will be through the halftime portion of the make-along, the Knitalongs and Knitalong Crochet-along for my Knitalong and Crochet-along. So I'll show the prizes. I think I showed them last week, the book and something else. Anyway, but I will show those and announce the winners for that. So thank you so much for taking some time out of your week. If you've enjoyed this, please do all the YouTube things that help me continue to grow this community. So like this episode, subscribe, share it with a friend if you have someone that you think would be interested in this content. I appreciate all of your time. Have a great couple weeks. I'll see you soon.